Are you ready to laugh about climate change? Please welcome to the stage, Matt Winning! Woo! Yeah! Thank you so much for coming! Cheers for being here, guys. My name is Matt Winning. I'm here to put the mate in climate change, warm glow in global warming, and argumental in environmental. Genuinely, my name is Dr. Winning, which makes me sound more like Charlie Sheen's drug dealer than a climate scientist. I'm originally from Paisley in Scotland. Paisley this year. Well, it's known for a couple of things. It's known for the Paisley pattern, probably. That's who you'd know it for, the pattern. It's also home of Gerard Butler, originally. Ooh. Paisley this year entered a competition to be named UK City of Culture 2021 and lost to Coventry. It's a bit like being up for an Academy Award and losing to Gerard Butler, isn't it? I work at one of the world's leading research institutions on sustainability and climate change, or as my dad likes to say, Matthew's 33 and still at university. Just a quick indication of my dad. Earlier this year I did a joke on Twitter, a tweet they call it, and it got retweeted by the Martin's money saving expert. You know that guy, Martin Lewis, the money saving? He retweeted one of my jokes, and my dad thinks that is the highlight of my day. He knows about ISIS. Must know about comedy. Cool, Dad. I have a PhD in climate change policy, which means I'm the sort of doctor that if you're ever on a flight and you have a heart attack, I will rush to your side, but only to berate you for flying. Why are you on the plane? Shh. My job title at the university, I'm an environmental economist. That's my job, which is a bit of an oxymoron as a job, isn't it? Environmental, yay, economist. No thanks. It's a bit like a human rights lawyer. Still a lawyer. Or a cocktail sausage. Huge disappointment. This is what I look like, by the way. In case you were wondering. This is what we're going to be covering today. I'm an academic, so what I like to do is I like to tell you what I'm about to tell you, and then I tell you, and then afterwards I tell you that I told you what I was going to tell you. Or as young people call it, spoilers. Contents. Anyway, so we're going to go through a recap of kind of the science and impacts, some stuff about psychology, individual action, and then finally we'll have a summary. And I know what you're thinking, in the future with climate change, won't every day be summary? No. Considerably more complicated than that. And let's find that out over the next... Anyway, good to be here. Right, so, science, cause and impacts. Very quickly, the greenhouse effect. We all know the greenhouse effect, don't we now? Basically, sunlight travels to the earth and it's stored in land and water. The solar radiation stored in land and water is heat, but a certain amount is reflected back up out of the atmosphere and would normally escape. But more gases that we're emitting, greenhouse gases, is trapping that. Kind of like a warm blanket around the planet, and that is warming the planet, hence global warming. And that warming of the planet, one of the main effects of that is climate change. Climate change in slide 1 of 76. Now, 2016 was the warmest year on record. 2017 was the warmest non-El Nino year on record. If you don't know, El Nino are a 5-piece Italian a cappella band. Got tickets for El Nino this Friday. Okay, don't trust them with your daughters. Anyway, but people go, oh, does that mean climate change is happening? Well, actually, no, it's just 2 data points. You can't look at 2 points and say that that is a trend. You have to look at the trend over time and what's happening. And clearly, over the last 150 years, the last 40 years, there's been substantial increasing warming in the planet. And we're trying to stay below 2 degrees or 1.5 degrees by the end of the century, and we're already about 1 degree. Now, people say, okay, so it's happening. Yeah, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's natural factors. Well, actually, no. We know basically all of the other natural factors that would influence climate change, things like the sun or volcanoes, would have ever so slightly cooled the planet over the last 150 years. So humans are actually causing about 110% of climate change. People say you can't give 110%. It turns out you can. Stop doing it. And what is most of that increase has come through increased use of fossil fuels. Things like, since 1900s, we've increased our use of fossil fuels about 8 or 9 times, and that is mostly coming from coal, gas and oil, which was actually the original name of the band Earth, Wind and Fire. And a lot of the older professors, that's their favourite joke. I know that band. That's when I was young. But basically, it's fossils, dead dinosaurs. Yeah? It's quite scary, wasn't it, in Jurassic Park when the velociraptors learned to open the doors by themselves. Turns out they were playing the long game. Clever girls. Yeah. And most of that increase in temperature, goes into the oceans. Now, we've heard a lot about the oceans in the last year, haven't we? After Blue Planet 2 and David Attenborough. And Attenborough's been banging on about how important the oceans are. And actually, 90% of the extra warming, Attenborough's right, it goes into the oceans. So that's actually, the oceans are the best barometer we have of whether the planet is warming. And the last 5 years have been the 5 warmest oceans ever recorded, and that is from Heat magazine. The coral reefs. Now, he talked about the coral reefs, didn't he, Attenborough? And they are incredibly important because, I always think of the coral reefs, right? When people talk about them, I always think of it like a musical supergroup between the band The Coral, yeah, and the band Reef. Do you remember? No? Well, that's because their careers have gone the exact same way. Dead in the water. But it's important. But what's going to happen? What are the impacts of climate change in the future going to be? Well, as you can all see from this graph, the planet is going to get squashed and go sort of weird colours. There's going to be 6 of them. Which one are you going to live on? I'm going for this guy! Bluebell! Yes! No, but seriously, it's going to be very difficult in the future to do your exams underwater. You're going to have a scuba mask on, aren't you? There's going to be puffer fish going by. Although the upside with squid, free ink refills for your... So, it's important... I forgot it does that. Ooh. Technology. And so the impacts are going to be serious. Basically, it's going to change what we eat. It's going to make that more difficult, and it's already going to be difficult due to population increasing is already a huge issue globally. It's estimated that between the year 2000 and 2050, globally, we're going to have to produce as much food as has ever been produced in the history of mankind. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that fact for you, because that would require more deforestation to grow the sugar. But it's effectively already. This guy absolutely loves corn on the cob. Loves the stuff. But due to climate change, his hands have grown so big. He can no longer But it's affecting people across the world, and people think it's not going to affect anyone here, but it is. In the UK already, cod and haddock are moving further north due to changes in sea temperatures, which means in the future we're going to have squid and chips instead of fish and chips in the UK. And the southeast of England's about to become the best place in the entire world to own a vineyard. Yeah. So it turns out that even if you have voted to leave the European Union, I'm afraid you're about to become French. And if you're Scottish, you're about to become English. Much worse. Now the consensus among experts, people asking me this a lot, people don't. The public tend to think that maybe about 3/4 of scientists agree. Actually, it's 97% of scientists think that humans are causing, that it's happening and the humans are causing it. And we're 95% certain, and that's about as certain as you can get in science. Now, in the interest of fairness, I should give 3% of this over to the other science, just to be fair. So very quickly, some other scientists, they believe that the rotation of the sun and the earth, and that's that. So this is very much a show about climate change. I absolutely love this stuff. This is what I live for. fine, there's me, the solar farmer. Basically, this is an hour about climate change. I hope you knew that you were coming to that. Because at the Edinburgh Festival, not everybody does. Some people, oh, I'm going to leave. Absolutely fair enough. These are some of my heroes, climate change heroes, people like Al Gore. Oh, loves a big invisible corn in the corner. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. Yes, but the Adelie Penguins would be. And finally, one of my heroes, of course, needs no introduction whatsoever. That is ex-UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Yes, the best one in the world, and here he is. I think he's doing some sort of homeless charity. Of course not. That is Leonardo DiCaprio, who very famous. He's got his own the Leonardo DiCaprio Foundation about climate change. He's made film before the flood about climate change, and he hates climate change because the only reason he got famous in the first place was due to an iceberg. He's trying to save those. So that's a picture of Leo with my hero Ban Ki-moon. And that's a picture of me at Warrington Bank Quay with a cardboard cut out of a moon. Warrington Bank Quay moon. The best visual joke about an ex-UN Secretary General you're going to hear in December. Anyway, so, bit of an introduction there. Hope we're all good. Now, people often ask me when I do this, they say, what can we do about it? And it's difficult as a member of the public to know what you're supposed to do about climate change. You're told lots of confusing things, aren't you? You're told to recycle more, change your light bulbs, go back in time and kill yourself before you were born. How do you know what to do? Now, I like to start here. Now, basically, the UK average person's emissions are about 8 tonnes of greenhouse gases a year. It's ever so slightly lower, but about 8 tonnes, 7.8. So, how much is that in context? We're trying to put that into a bit of context. If you were to take a bag on a plane, you shouldn't be flying. If you were to take a bag on a plane, it's about 20 kilos is what you're allowed. So 20 kilos, that is about the equivalent then of 400 suitcases that each of gases that each and every single one of us are responsible for going into the atmosphere every single year. And if you were to take that on a Ryanair flight, that would cost you 71 grand excess package. So that's the kind of content. People start listening then. Okay. Sounds like a lot. So, what can we do about it? Well, there was a really interesting study that came out last year from Wines and Nicholas that looked at the gap. Basically, what we're told to do about climate change often isn't the most effective actions that you can do. And I thought this was really fascinating. Basically, what they did was then they came up with a list of what they thought the top 4 things that you could do about climate change were, individual actions. And here they are in descending order. Here we go. Number 4. Okay, number 4. Don't have a cow, man. It's eating meat. And that's about 10% of the average UK person's emissions. And at number 3. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Yes, it's a plane. And it's the most emissions-intensive thing you can possibly do. You don't have to not eat meat for 2 years in order to take a return flight to New York and back. And at number 3, beep beep, it's driving. You turn ahead. Basically, you would have to, basically it's about 30% of the UK emissions. It's by far away one of the highest actions that you could do. Now, does anyone want to guess what number 1 is? Any guesses from the audience? Farting. Farting? I like it. Incorrect. Good guess, though. Really good guess.
Procreation.
Procreation! Correct! I mean, it's the most posh way I've ever heard it said, but absolutely. Who was that? Here we go! Do you have any kids of your own? Of course not! Absolutely not. They never do. Only once. I've done the show about 40 times. Only once. It's the person that answered that ever have kids. Yeah, and that's 700% of the UK average emissions. So basically, that's an extra 58.6 tonnes a year if you decide to have a child. And that is what they do is they take the child's emissions, they take that half and half and attribute it to the two parents, and then they take a quarter and a quarter of a grandchild's emissions and apportion that, and so on and so on and so on for 6 generations, and they sum all of that up, and they say that if you are responsible for deciding to have a child, an extra child, then you're contributing 700% more. Good catch. I mean, it's shocking, isn't it? I'm never having a kid. But basically, it turns out that the best thing you can possibly do for your child's future is to not have a child. It makes total sense. I guess Ireland did the most environmentally responsible thing possible this year when they legalised abortion. Yay! I was quite conflicted, if I'm honest, because there was a lot of people flying back to vote. Elections, like, should they be doing that? But then they won. Yeah! It'll all be fine in the end. Now, I thought this was absolutely fascinating, because, well, on a personal level, earlier this year, very end of last year actually, almost a year ago, my wife and I, I'm going to keep getting wife. Basically, I got married about a month ago, and I'm going to keep getting that wrong throughout the show. So I'm not used to saying I've done the show since I changed it. Changed it? I say that. Unilaterally decided. No. Anyway, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah. So in December last year, my wife and I we went to Japan and Southeast Asia on a trip, mostly eating sort of local meat-based delicacies and getting Ubers to the airports. And the reason we did that is because we're planning on having a baby. So I'm supposed to be the guy up here telling everyone that they should stop doing things, and I'm doing all of these things, and I find that fascinating, that disconnect between, I've been working in this area for 10 years now, but it's only within the last couple of years that I've actually started bringing it into my own personal life, and it's weird, that disconnect that we have. I should probably mention as well, at this point seems like a good enough point to mention that this show, Matt Winning Climate Strange, is sponsored by United Scottish Petroleum. Which is pure oil, guilt-free but not kilt-free. That's the idea of a joke. Anyway, it's very expensive, I still lost money. So, why do we do nothing about climate change? Why is it very difficult for us to take actions as individuals? I should mention at this point, because sometimes people ask me as well, they go, wow, but what about business? Yeah, and what about politics? And I'm like, or stuff like that. I had a guy come up to me after a preview as well and say, well, this was great, you talked about individuals and why, he's like, that's not what we need businesses to change. And I was like, cool. I'll just go on stage and talk about how Ryman's can lower their carbon footprint for an hour, shall I? See if people laugh at that. Cool. So, I'm talking about people. There are other things, but it's mostly about people today. So why do we do nothing about it? Well, I think climate change is a bit like religion in a couple of ways. First of all, it's a bit like religion in that you're told to sort of make sacrifices now. Give up your sinful pleasures and you might save the world, right? Stop having steak, stop flying to Ibiza, stop stealing cars. Stop all the fun stuff, and we'll be okay in the end. Now, fair enough. I don't know which side God would be on though on climate change, if I'm honest, because we do know the guy likes a big old flood, doesn't he? I don't know. But I also find it a bit like religion, because when I come and talk about this, afterwards, people come up to me and they say, "That was all well, great. Had a great time. I laughed my head off." And I learned something. But do you feel like you're preaching to the converted? And I get that a lot, people saying, you're probably preaching to the converted. Now, it's weird that, because clearly I'm not a preacher, I'm just a guy standing on stage, and it just so happens that when I come and talk to people, they sort of gather around my feet to learn from the wisdom. I mean, I'm not saying I'm Jesus. I'm 33 and I'm trying to save the world. Got a beard, love Easter eggs. I've got 12 friends and I don't trust one of them. And if I'm honest, my dad is quite controlling. He does nothing on a Sunday. Okay, I'm not, but what, it's easy to imagine that the world is just split into two, that it's just converts and deniers on climate change, but that is not the case at all. Studies show that the public is split into about 6 different groups on climate change. These are the groups here, hopefully you can all read them: alarmed, concerned, cautious, disengaged, doubtful, dismissive. All things my dad has said about my career in the last year. But these are the different groups, and the alarmed, that's about 18%, and the dismissive, that's your deniers, that's maybe about 10%. That's just over a quarter of the population. So the problem isn't denial. The problem is that about 3/4 of the population feel the same way about climate change as they do about a new U2 album. Just apathetic, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to move people from here and make them alarmed, as if they've just found out that that new U2 album is going to be downloaded directly onto their iTunes. So these are the 6 groups that we have. I like to put that in case there's any casting agents in. Show my range. Yeah. So you know, these are the people I'm actually interested in talking to. The people in the middle. Now I don't know who in the audience have we got. Sir, would you? Where would you say you would be on this spectrum? Where do you think you sit?
The concerned part.
Concerned. Okay, and that's most people. Most people are the concerned. Don't worry, I won't talk to you again. But yeah, most people are in this concern. But I had a guy, someone the other day when I asked them about it, and they said they were concerned. That's the most common answer I get. And I said, what's stopping you becoming alarmed? And he said, it sounds exhausting. Yep, very much. But yeah, so it's talking to these people. Now, there's a reason why 75% of people in here, a number of reasons. One is that climate change is very distant to all of us, right? It's always like in the future, it's going to happen far away, or people far away, or it's happening to polar bears, right? I don't know about how you, do any of you hang out with polar bears? I mean, I do. It's the one friend I don't trust. Very differing views on a number of issues. You could say that we are bear opposites. And anyway, it's very distant to us, and in terms of like, you know, we often listen to those around us, our family and friends, right? You know, this is us, Magaluf 2002. But we listen to those, our friends, and see what are they talking about climate change? Are they doing anything about it? And most people aren't. It's not like part of the normal conversation. And if you are the weird guy that's talking about it all the time, your friends will sort of put you at the edge of pictures and try and So it feels very distant to us as a thing. This is a graph showing how people feel in terms of how climate change is going to affect them, and they think that it's not going to affect them very much, but it will affect people in this, you know, the same country, or mostly other countries, or people far off, or mostly people in the future. And you know, and so it's a very distant thing to us, and I don't know how it could feel any more distant. So we need to find other ways of talking about it, is what I'm saying. This is Ed Hawkins from Reading University. He's done these warming stripes. I think this is actually a really good way of visually communicating it very quickly. This is just every year from 1850 to 2017, and each year is a different colour, and you can clearly see that's the temperature that's changed, and clearly and recently the temperature's, you know, just exponentially increasing. But I don't know how you would bring that sort of thing up at like a dinner party. Say, I don't know. Anyway, so I'm interested. That's what I'm interested in, is talking to these groups in the middle and trying to change them. And the other thing that I get when I talk to people about it is they often say they've got bigger worries. They're concerned, but there's bigger worries out there. And most people, if you look at a list of what people are worried about, it tends to be the economy. Like, fair enough, Brexit right now, and national security. That's the other thing that top lists of what people are most worried about. But what can any of us actually do about those things? Very little. Like, how many of you are actively trying to become the next governor of the Bank of England? Probably not, yeah? And what are you doing for national security apart from putting a little shampoo bottle in a plastic bag?